Welcome to Bookish and Beyond, where nonfiction comes to life. In each episode, we break down the world's most impactful books, from self-help to biographies. We dive into key takeaways, author insights, and modern parallels. Want more? Subscribers get exclusive access to our book summary, study guide, and timeline PDF, everything you need to go deeper. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's explore the books that change the way we think. This is Bookish and Beyond.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today we're exploring Don't Be Sad
by Aaidh ibn Abdullah al-Qarni,
Right.
translated by Faisal ibn Muhammad Shafiq.
Now this book tackles sadness and hardship,
From an Islamic perspective.
but with wisdom that can really speak to anyone.
Yeah, what I found fascinating was how the publisher emphasized that.
Yeah,
It transcends its religious origins.
for sure.
This book is really for anyone
Mhm.
looking to overcome challenges.
Yeah?
Especially, with things like depression and spiritual unease
Oh yeah.
being so prevalent these days.
It's very relevant.
Very relevant.
And the translator points out that it's not structured in a typical way.
Not at all.
It kind of jumps around topics, revisits them for emphasis.
Exactly.
It's almost like,
Like a good playlist.
yes,
Yeah, no.
where your favorite track pops up again later.
Exactly. You're constantly reflecting and making new connections.
Are you ready to dive into some of those connections with me?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, great. So we'll be going into things like turning negativity into positivity, finding comfort in helping others,
Yeah.
and even learning from prophets and how they face tough times.
Sounds good.
Okay. So the book really stresses the importance of living in the present moment.
The power of now.
Have you ever found yourself stuck dwelling on past regrets
All the time.
or worrying about the future?
Absolutely. I think that's a universal experience.
Yeah, I think so too.
Don't Be Sad compares it to trying to sawdust,
Oh, wow.
which is such a powerful image, right? You're putting all this effort into changing something that's already done and over with.
That's such a good image.
Yeah.
It's so true because we spend so much time
So much wasted energy.
on the what ifs and the should haves.
Yeah.
And the book really paints this picture of someone just frantically
Desperately.
trying to bring back yesterday
Yeah, and just exhausting themselves in the process.
and getting nowhere.
Right, it's like an army trying to march backwards. The book says we need to be like an army marching forward, focused on what we can control right now.
I love that. That actually leads perfectly into the next concept,
Yeah.
turning negativity into positivity,
Right.
what the book calls converting lemons into sweet drinks.
I love that.
So good, right?
Yeah.
There's this one story that stood out to me about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal.
Oh, tell me about it.
So this scholar faced intense trials,
Yeah.
imprisonment even,
Wow.
but he used those experiences to fuel his work.
Incredible.
He came out not just unbroken, but even more accomplished.
What could have crushed him made him stronger.
It's like that saying, pressure creates diamonds.
Exactly. And the book also tells this anecdote about two prisoners in France.
Okay.
One an optimist, the other a pessimist. They each get a bag of lemons.
Okay.
And the pessimist, of course, focuses on the sourness.
Of course.
But the optimist, he makes lemonade.
That's a classic. But I wonder, did the book elaborate on that? Like, did he share the lemonade or was he like, no, this is all for me?
That's a great question. The book doesn't actually explicitly say,
Right.
but it does emphasize the idea of sharing blessings.
Right.
So maybe the act of making that lemonade was enough to shift his mindset,
Yeah.
even if he didn't physically share it.
That's an interesting nuance. So it
Yeah.
makes you think about how those small acts of turning a negative into a positive can have ripple effects,
For sure.
even if they seem insignificant at the time.
Absolutely.
So have you ever had a lemonade moment
No, let me think.
where you turned a tough situation around?
You know what? I had this presentation I was dreading,
Okay.
and I was just convinced it was going to be a disaster.
Oh, no.
But then I thought, well, what if I reframe this as a chance to connect with people and share my passion for this topic?
Oh, how'd it go?
It went surprisingly well. The audience was really engaged.
Wow.
And I ended up feeling energized, not drained.
That's awesome.
It definitely felt like I'd turned those lemons into something much sweeter.
That's a great example. It really shows how this concept from the book
Yeah.
can be applied to everyday life.
For sure.
It's not just some abstract idea.
Yeah, it's practical. Yeah, it's about the power of mindset,
Totally, totally. And that actually connects so well to another point that Don't Be Sad makes,
Okay.
which is about finding solace in helping others.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it really resonates with the idea that we're all interconnected. When we shift our focus outwards and try to ease someone else's burden, it often lightens our own as well.
It's like that saying, those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves.
Exactly. And don't be sad emphasizes that charity isn't limited to material things.
Right.
Like a smile, a kind word, just listening attentively. Those can all be acts of charity as well.
It's about those small gestures that we kind of take for granted, but can make such a difference in someone's day.
Huge difference.
I think the book actually quotes the Prophet Muhammad as saying, do not dismiss certain acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Even something as small as greeting your brother with a cheerful face.
Right.
That's beautiful.
It is.
So it emphasizes, how much of an impact we can have with even the simplest of actions.
Sometimes offering a kind word or a listening ear is more valuable than any material gift you can give,
For sure. Speaking of valuable,
the
book dives into how faith can be a powerful source of strength during tough times.
Absolutely.
It shares stories of prophets and early believers who faced hardships, yet their faith remained unwavering.
Yes. The story of Prophet Job is a really powerful example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he endured unimaginable loss, family, wealth, health.
Faith intent.
Yet he never lost his faith.
Wow.
And the book uses this really beautiful image to describe that.
Okay.
It says that a believer's heart is like fertile land.
Oh, nice.
Even after a harsh drought, when the rain finally comes, it flourishes again.
I love that.
It's powerful, right?
It is. It shows how resilient we can be.
Yeah.
Even in the face of really extreme situations.
Absolutely.
But what happens when we feel lost, Unsure of our path?
Yeah.
Like the book actually touches on that too, right?
Yeah, don't be sad. Cautions against mimicry.
Okay.
Trying to become someone we're not.
Right.
It really stresses embracing our individuality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even a Quranic verse that says, for every nation, there is a direction to which they face.
Why?
It's like we all have our own unique compass guiding us.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes me think of how diverse the companions of the Prophet Muhammad were.
Exactly.
They all had their strengths and weaknesses, but they all contributed in their own way.
Exactly. The book seems to be saying that mimicking others is like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
We each have our own shape and our own purpose.
Our own place.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this image of marching forward, finding strength in our faith, embracing our individuality.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, don't we also need to step back from all the noise?
Yes, definitely.
To truly connect with ourselves.
Don't Be Sad actually explores the benefits of solitude, particularly for self-improvement and spiritual growth.
One of the stories that really stuck with me was about Ibn al-Qarni.
Oh, yeah.
Who found solace and sweetness in the company of knowledge during a period of isolation.
Right.
It reminds me of how much I enjoy my solo hikes,
Yeah.
It's like my mind finally has space to wander and process things.
Absolutely. I think many of us underestimate the value of just spending time alone with our thoughts.
For sure.
It's not about withdrawing from the world completely,
Right.
It's about finding that balance between social interaction and self-reflection.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this next concept might seem a little paradoxical, but Don't Be Sad explores the idea of pain being a blessing. How can something that feels so negative actually be a positive thing?
Right. It's an interesting concept. The book argues that those who have gone through hardship often produce the most meaningful work.
Oh, nice.
Whether it's art, literature, or even acts of service.
I see.
They've experienced the depths of human emotions.
Yeah.
And they can kind of channel that into something really powerful.
The book uses this very compelling analogy.
Okay.
It says a writer who's never experienced hardship or heartbreak will write words that lack depth and passion.
Right.
It's like living a life devoid of feeling.
Right. Makes you think, about how challenges, even painful ones, can actually deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Totally. It's not about seeking out pain, of course.
No.
But recognizing that it's an inevitable part of the human experience.
Of course.
and that we have the power to choose how we respond to it, which leads perfectly into this idea of actively cultivating happiness.
Okay.
Don't Be Sad emphasizes that happiness isn't just something that magically happens.
No.
You know, it's an art form that requires practice and nurturing.
Definitely.
And the example that the book gives is of a runner in a race.
Okay.
While running, they experience exhaustion, pain. But the moment they cross the finish line, that all seems to vanish, right?
Yes.
It's replaced with a sense of accomplishment and joy.
Absolutely.
Have you ever felt that?
Absolutely. It's like the struggle kind of fades away when we achieve a goal or overcome an obstacle.
For sure, yeah.
But it's not about ignoring negative emotions altogether.
Right.
Don't Be Sad stresses the importance of controlling our emotions, not letting anger and negativity consume us.
Yeah. It's about finding that balance again, you know.
Absolutely.
Recognizing and acknowledging those negative emotions.
Yeah.
But not letting them dictate our actions or our outlook.
Exactly. It's about choosing how we respond to the challenges rather than letting them control us.
This idea of choosing our response actually reminds me of something else the book mentions.
Okay.
This importance of not carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Oh, that's a big one.
Right.
I think especially nowadays, you know, with everything going on in the world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the barrage of news and information.
Totally.
Don't Be Sad urges us to step back and remember that we can't control everything.
It's about picking our battles, right?
Exactly. Focusing on what we can realistically impact and letting go of what we can't.
And that actually ties in with the book's advice on dealing with criticism.
Okay.
It suggests we should stay firm and patient when faced with insults.
Right.
And to focus on our own growth and development.
Right. It's like that saying, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't be sad, even quotes the Quran.
Okay.
Perish in your rage. And the book interprets that as a call to abandon anger and resentment. Yeah.
Because they only hinder our own progress.
Right. It's about recognizing that other people's opinions don't define our worth.
Exactly.
We should focus on, you know, increasing our own merits.
Yeah.
And developing our talents.
And on that note, the book offers a very thought-provoking perspective on validation.
Okay.
It says, don't expect gratitude from anyone.
So it's not about discouraging us from helping others.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that true fulfillment comes from acting sincerely.
Okay.
Not from the expectation of recognition or appreciation.
So it's detaching from the outcome.
Yes.
And focusing on the intrinsic value of the act itself.
Exactly. It reminds me of that quote, do good and throw it in the sea.
Yes. Right.
That's perfect.
It's a good one. And the book uses a story to illustrate this.
Okay.
It tells of a father who showered his son with love and care, only to be met with disrespect and disobedience from the son later in life.
So while doing good is important,
yes,
we shouldn't be attached to how others respond.
Exactly.
It's about purifying our own intentions.
Yes.
And focusing on pleasing Allah.
And this kind of leads back to that theme of finding comfort in serving others.
Yes. Don't Be Sad emphasizes how doing good for others can bring comfort and solace to our own hearts.
No, it does. It beautifully explains that the first beneficiary of an act of charity is the giver themselves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Even a simple act like smiling at someone can shift our own outlook.
Yeah.
You know, make us feel happier, more connected.
Absolutely.
It's like that ripple effect.
It is.
You know, the kindness we put out into the world comes back to us in ways we may not even realize.
Absolutely.
But what about those times when we feel bored or unmotivated?
Yeah.
Because don't be sad. Address that.
Absolutely. It cautions against idleness.
Okay.
Portraying boredom as the slippery slope that can lead to negative thoughts and anxieties.
Right, because then our minds are just like...
empty vessels.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they'll just automatically fill up with...
negativity if we don't fill them with something productive.
So Don't Be Sad recommends combating boredom by engaging in meaningful work.
Yeah.
Whether it's pursuing knowledge, helping others,
Yeah.
even organizing our homes.
Right. Just staying active and engaged both physically and mentally.
It's about taking control of our time and energy.
Yes.
And not letting them slip away.
And that actually ties into another important point the book makes. Don't be a mimicker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite takeaways. It really encourages us to avoid blindly following others.
Yeah.
You know, and to embrace our individuality.
And that Quranic verse, each group of people knew its own place for water.
Wow.
You know, it really stood out to me.
Powerful.
It just reinforces that we all have our own unique paths to follow. We shouldn't try to fit into someone else's mold.
It's like, those beautiful tapestries.
Yeah.
Where each thread is different, but together they create a stunning work of art.
Exactly. And that brings to mind the diversity amongst the companions of the Prophet Muhammad. Yeah. They each had their unique contributions to make. Mm-hmm. And it was that diversity that made the community so strong.
Yeah. Don't be sad. Seems to be saying that, embracing our individual strengths and weaknesses is really key to finding true happiness and fulfillment.
I think so. This next concept might be a little more challenging for some to grasp.
Okay.
But the book explores the idea of preordainment, that everything in our lives is already written.
I feel like that could be interpreted as a very fatalistic view.
Yeah, but I think the book uses it differently.
Okay.
It's not about promoting passivity,
right,
but encouraging acceptance and trust in Allah's plan.
Mm-hmm.
If we truly believe that everything happens for a reason, even hardships can bring a sense of peace and solace.
So it reframes trials,
yeah,
as opportunities for refinement,
yeah,
drawing us closer to our Creator.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that even when things seem difficult,
yeah,
they might be part of a grander design that we can't fully comprehend at the moment.
And that actually leads us back to a concept we touched on earlier, right?
Yeah.
Turning lemons into sweet drinks.
Yes.
It's like those threads we were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
Even the seemingly negative, dark threads contribute to the beauty of the overall tapestry.
Yeah, I like how you brought that back full circle. And that's what Don't Be Sad emphasizes, transforming negatives into positives.
Yeah.
And the book uses the Prophet Muhammad's migration from Makkah to Medina as a prime example.
Okay.
So he was forced to leave, but turned that challenge into an opportunity to build a thriving Muslim community.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of seeing it as a defeat, he used it as fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
For something greater.
And that puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It reminds me of that quote, "The obstacle is the way."
Precisely. Don't Be Sad is all about shifting our perspective, choosing to see the potential for growth, even in those difficult situations.
I feel like we keep coming back to that idea of choice.
Yeah.
It
is a recurrent theme.
Yeah, it's very important. The book reiterates this story about the optimistic and pessimistic prisoners with the bag of lemons.
Right.
But what other stories or examples does the book use to highlight this point?
One that sticks out is the comparison of hardships to wrestling.
Yeah.
It says those who face difficulties with patience are like wrestlers who firmly hold their ground, refusing to be defeated. It's about finding that inner strength to weather the storm.
Yeah.
I
like how the book uses such vivid imagery and relatable metaphors to convey these, sometimes complex ideas.
Right. And it connects it to the spiritual dimension as well.
Yeah.
Don't be sad emphasizes turning to Allah in times of distress, seeking comfort through prayer and supplication.
Reminding us that even in our darkest moments, we're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the book actually quotes a verse from the Quran.
Right.
Is not he better than your gods, who responds to the distressed one when he calls upon him.
It's powerful.
It is comforting, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another layer to that idea of seeking solace.
Okay.
It's finding refuge in our homes.
Our homes should be our sanctuary.
Yes.
Places where we can truly be ourselves and disconnect from the chaos of the world.
For sure.
Right.
But again, it's not about complete isolation.
Right.
It's about
finding that balance.
Yes, that balance between social interaction and solitude.
Exactly.
Recognizing that sometimes the best way to recharge and reconnect with ourselves is to create that sacred space within our own homes.
Right. It's interesting how Don't Be Sad emphasizes finding solace in both the internal and the external.
Right, yeah.
Isn't it?
And speaking of finding solace,
yeah,
the book actually brings in another dimension.
Okay.
Focusing on our rewards in the hereafter.
The eternal perspective.
Right, reminding us that our struggles here are temporary.
Yes.
And there's a greater purpose to our existence.
Absolutely.
Than just, the day-to-day.
Right.
Don't be sad. Doesn't shy away from the spiritual aspect. It emphasizes that, true and lasting happiness comes from seeking Allah's pleasure and striving for a place in paradise.
Right. A powerful reminder that our actions in this world have eternal consequences as well as temporal ones.
It's about keeping that bigger picture in mind.
Absolutely.
Not getting so caught up in the day-to-day
that
we lose sight of our ultimate goal.
You got it. And this ties into another powerful message, the transformative power of faith.
Oh, yes. Don't be sad really drives home the idea that faith is an antidote to sadness.
It does.
A source of strength and hope during those, difficult times.
Yeah, it uses a really powerful comparison, saying that faith is to life as the soul is to the body.
Wow.
Without it, we're truly lost and wretched.
Makes me think of those stories of people who've endured unimaginable hardships, but found the strength to persevere because of their faith.
Absolutely.
It's like their belief gave them this source of energy that nothing else could touch.
It's internal.
Yeah, it's internal.
Don't be sad encourages us to find solace in that same knowledge, that even in the darkest of times, faith can guide us towards a brighter future. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's like faith is that.
Internal compass.
Yes, guiding us back toward true north.
Speaking of finding wisdom, the book also talks about extracting knowledge and benefits from experiences, even negative ones.
Okay.
It uses this analogy of bees extracting honey from the honeycomb.
I love that.
Right.
It's about approaching life with this mindset of learning and growth.
Yeah.
Recognizing that even when things are tough, there's something valuable to be gained from the experience.
Always something to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Which reminds me of another point the book makes about envy and jealousy.
Oh, yes.
And how destructive those emotions can be.
Extremely destructive.
Wow.
Don't be sad cautions us against constantly comparing ourselves to others. True contentment comes from appreciating what we have, not coveting what others possess.
It's so easy to get caught in that trap of comparison.
It is, especially today.
Especially today.
With social media.
Social media is a beast.
Oh, it is.
It really is. You're constantly bombarded with these images.
Yes.
Of, what we think we should be or have.
Yeah, the curated highlight reel.
Totally.
But the book reminds us that true happiness comes from within, not from external validation or material wealth.
Yeah.
It even uses a really powerful metaphor, comparing jealousy to a disease.
Oh, wow.
That can wreak havoc on both our minds and bodies.
Right.
It's a potent reminder that focusing on what we lack will only lead to unhappiness.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about cultivating gratitude and acceptance.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we each have our own unique blessings.
Absolutely. And this leads to another important message from Don't Be Sad.
Okay.
Embracing life as it is, with all its imperfections and challenges.
I think that's a really important message.
Especially today.
Especially today.
When we're constantly bombarded with images of perfection.
Airbrushed everything.
Yeah, exactly. The book encourages us to let go of those unrealistic expectations and find contentment in the present moment.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that life is a journey with both ups and downs.
And accepting that those challenges are a natural part of life.
Absolutely.
And focusing on how we respond to them.
It all comes back to choice.
Yeah, choice.
Right.
Yeah, big time. This ties in with another powerful idea.
Okay.
Finding solace and recognizing the suffering of others.
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's so easy to get caught up in our own problems and forget that everyone is going through something.
Yeah, absolutely.
The book really encourages us to practice empathy, to look around and acknowledge the hardships that others face.
Yeah.
It can really help us gain a better perspective on our own situations.
Absolutely.
It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles, and that by sharing in each other's joys and sorrows, we can find strength and support.
For sure. And speaking of finding strength, Don't Be Sad highlights the importance of turning to prayer as a source of solace and guidance.
It is a powerful tool, isn't it?
Oh, it's so powerful.
It allows us to connect with something greater than ourselves and to tap into a source of peace and clarity.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the book emphasizes a specific verse from the Quran.
Okay.
O you who believe, seek help in patience and the prayer.
It's beautiful.
It is.
Reminding us that even in our most challenging moments, we can always turn to Allah for support and guidance.
Absolutely. And that leads us to another important theme, the concept of relying on Allah alone.
Okay.
Particularly during times of hardship.
This is where, the book's Islamic perspective really shines through.
It does.
It's offering a framework for finding strength and solace through complete reliance on Allah.
Don't Be Sad uses these powerful phrases from the Quran to reinforce this. Like, Allah alone is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs for us.
Wow. It's a reminder that even when everything else seems to be failing, we can always turn to our Creator.
Absolutely.
For sure. And don't be sad also suggests finding solace through travel.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
It encourages us to embrace the opportunity to explore Allah's vast creation.
There's something so refreshing about traveling, you know?
It is.
It allows us to step out of our routines and gain a fresh perspective on life.
The book highlights how travel can be a form of self-discovery. You know, we get to connect with different cultures, see breathtaking landscapes, and ultimately deepen our connection with Allah by witnessing the diversity of his creation.
It reminds us that there's this whole world out there,
Yes.
you know, beyond our immediate worries and concerns.
It shifts the perspective.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of navigating those worries and concerns,
Yeah.
Don't Be Sad places a strong emphasis on patience.
Of course, it's crucial.
Especially during difficult times.
It is.
Patience is a virtue, but it can be so hard to practice.
Oh, it's so difficult.
Especially when it feels like we're surrounded by, you know, challenges and obstacles.
Absolutely. The book reminds us that patience is not passive resignation.
Okay.
It's active endurance and perseverance. It's about understanding that hardships are temporary and knowing that with faith and resilience, we'll get through them.
There's that sense of hope again.
Yes.
You know, Don't Be Sad really focuses on reminding us
It does.
that even when things are tough,
Yeah.
there's always a reason to keep going.
And it ties into a key piece of advice the book gives. Don't carry the weight of the globe on your shoulders.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in trying to control everything.
It is, but the book reminds us it's okay to let go of what we can't control and focus on what we can.
It's about prioritizing our well-being and setting healthy boundaries.
Absolutely. And Don't Be Sad also cautions against allowing insignificant matters to consume us.
That's important too.
It is.
Sometimes those little annoyances, you know, can really take over and steal our joy.
Yeah, they can fester.
Yep.
The book advises us to step back and evaluate the true significance of situations before we overreact.
It's choosing our battles wisely.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that saying, don't sweat the small stuff.
Exactly.
It's a good one.
And speaking of focusing on what matters, the book stresses being content with what Allah has given us.
Contentment is such a key ingredient for happiness.
It's crucial. Don't Be Sad reminds us that true wealth isn't about material possessions.
Yep.
It's about gratitude and appreciation for the blessings we have in our lives.
I love how the book uses examples from Islamic history,
Yeah,
you know, to illustrate these points.
it does.
It makes them feel so tangible and relatable.
Right. It tells these stories of influential scholars and leaders who live very simply, you know, finding fulfillment in their faith and their service to others.
It's that reminder that true happiness comes from within,
Yeah,
not from external validation or material possessions.
absolutely.
It's a timeless message.
It is.
It really is.
Speaking of timelessness, Don't Be Sad also encourages us to find solace in the prospect of paradise.
Oh, yes.
Huh?
Reminding us that our struggles here are temporary
Yeah.
and a greater reward awaits those who persevere in faith and good deeds.
The book vividly describes paradise as a place of eternal bliss and contentment, offering it as motivation to face the challenges of this world with patience and hope.
It shifts our perspective.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
And helps us to put our earthly worries
Into context.
into context. Yeah. And that actually leads us to another important concept. This idea of adhering to the middle path.
Oh, the middle path.
Okay.
In all aspects of our lives.
So what does the middle path look like in practice?
Don't Be Sad encourages us to avoid extremes in our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
Right.
You know, finding that balance between indulgence and deprivation, recklessness and fear. It's about finding moderation in all things.
It reminds me of that saying, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the core message of the book.
Yeah.
Not succumbing to sadness, even when things feel overwhelming.
Don't Be Sad emphasizes that while it's natural to feel sad at times,
Yeah.
we shouldn't let it consume us.
Yeah. It's about finding the strength to move forward, to focus on the good, even in the midst of difficulty.
It challenges that idea that sadness is just an inevitable part of the human experience.
Right.
You know, it suggests that, you know, true believers should find solace in their faith
Absolutely.
and their knowledge that Allah is always with them. It's a really powerful message of hope and resilience,
It is.
reminding us that even in our, you know, darkest moments, we're not alone.
Right. Now, this next point is a bit controversial, but Don't Be Sad actually explores whether sadness is ever acceptable in Islam.
Oh, that's interesting. What does it say?
Well, it presents differing opinions. Some scholars believe that excessive sadness can indicate a weakness in faith.
Oh.
Right. So it's about recognizing that faith can be an incredible source of strength and resilience, even in the face of adversity.
And focusing on, the blessings and absolutely all the good.
Don't Be Sad emphasizes finding joy in our worship and our connection with Allah, rather than giving in to despair.
It's a beautiful reminder that we can find solace and happiness,
Yeah.
even in the midst of challenges.
For sure. And speaking of finding joy, the book emphasizes the beauty of a simple act. Smiling.
Smiling, yes.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, right?
It is.
I mean, it can brighten someone's day.
Absolutely.
Change our own mood.
Yeah.
It's such a simple act, but with such profound implications.
Don't Be Sad explains that smiling can be a form of charity, and its effects can ripple outwards, spreading positivity and kindness.
I love that. So even in the midst of our own struggles, we can still choose to be a source of light for others.
Absolutely. And speaking of that shift in perspective, Don't Be Sad explores another seemingly paradoxical concept: the blessing of pain.
Oh, intrigue me. How can pain be a blessing?
Well, the book argues that while pain is unpleasant, it can be a powerful catalyst for growth and transformation.
Okay.
It suggests that those who've experienced hardship often develop greater empathy, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for life's blessings.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And Don't Be Sad even highlights that those who've lived through adversity often produce the most impactful works of art and literature.
It's like pain can be this wellspring of creativity and inspiration.
Absolutely. This leads into the book's exploration of happiness as an art form.
Ooh, I like this.
Right. Don't Be Sad suggests that it's a skill we can cultivate.
Yeah, it takes effort.
It does. It takes effort and intentionality to cultivate happiness. It's not something that just passively happens to us.
Right.
The book emphasizes the importance of positive thinking, emotional regulation, and aligning our actions with our values.
It's an inside job.
It is. It is an inside job. And this ties into the importance of controlling our emotions, especially when faced with those difficult situations.
Oh, it's so easy, to get swept away by, anger, frustration, or resentment.
It is.
But Don't Be Sad reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond.
It's not about suppressing those emotions, but finding healthy ways to express and process them while also cultivating that inner peace and stability.
That's a tricky balance.
It is, but it's so important for our overall well-being. Don't Be Sad also dives into the importance of finding joy in our relationships, particularly with those closest to us.
That's a key aspect.
It is.
Of a happy life.
The book highlights the blessings of companionship, reminding us that positive relationships contribute immensely to our overall well-being.
And it even shares this beautiful hadith from the Prophet Muhammad about loving and hating in moderation.
Oh, I love that one.
I know, right? So he said, love the one who is beloved to you in due moderation, for perhaps the day will come when you will abhor him. And hate the one whom you detest in due moderation, for perhaps the day will arrive when you will come to love him.
Wow.
So good, right?
That's a powerful reminder to find balance and moderation even in our closest relationships.
And it acknowledges how complex relationships are,
They are.
They're constantly evolving.
This leads into another complex topic that Don't Be Sad explores. This concept of justice.
Okay.
Both in this world and the hereafter.
Right.
It's about acknowledging that while injustice may exist in this world, Allah is ultimately just and will rectify all wrongs in the hereafter.
So it's about seeking justice, for ourselves and for others, but also trusting that, ultimate justice lies with Allah.
Exactly. It's a message of hope and accountability, reminding us that our actions have consequences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of actions,
Yes.
Don't Be Sad offers practical advice for how to handle those times when, work piles up and we feel overwhelmed.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
The book encourages us to prioritize tasks, seek help when needed, and avoid procrastination. It's about finding that sustainable rhythm that allows us to be productive without burning out.
Finding that balance.
Yes.
Between working hard and taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. And speaking of well-being, Don't Be Sad emphasizes the importance of never despairing.
Right. Never give up hope.
Never give up hope even when we face difficult situations.
Right. It's about remembering that even when things seem hopeless, Allah is always with us and can change our circumstances in an instant.
The book uses a powerful verse from the Quran to illustrate this point. And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out from every difficulty.
Beautiful. And it's a reminder that, we should never abandon hope.
Absolutely. And speaking of hope, Don't Be Sad also emphasizes contemplating the signs of Allah's power and mercy in creation.
I love that because sometimes, when we're feeling down, all we need is just to be reminded of the beauty and wonder that surrounds us.
Right. It's about shifting our focus from our own problems to the grandeur of the universe.
Yeah. And Don't Be Sad even recommends spending time in nature as a way to, reconnect with Allah and find peace and tranquility.
Exactly. And speaking of connecting, the book delves into the importance of embracing constructive criticism.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But Don't Be Sad frames it as a valuable opportunity for growth and self-improvement.
Absolutely. It encourages us to be open to feedback, even when it's not delivered in the most pleasant way.
It's recognizing that sometimes the most valuable lessons come from those who challenge us to think differently.
Absolutely. And on the topic of challenging thoughts, Don't Be Sad cautions against getting caught up in rumors and gossip.
That's a big one nowadays.
It is. Information travels so fast.
The book reminds us that most rumors are baseless.
Yeah.
And that dwelling on them just brings unnecessary anxiety and negativity.
Yeah. It's about discerning truth from falsehood.
Yeah, and protecting, our mental and emotional well-being.
Exactly. And on the topic of protecting ourselves, Don't Be Sad emphasizes the importance of gentleness.
Gentleness, yeah.
In our interactions with others.
I think gentleness is often mistaken for weakness.
It is.
But Don't Be Sad presents it as a sign of strength and wisdom.
It uses the analogy of a willow tree bending in the wind to illustrate this point.
Ooh.
Right. It suggests that being gentle and yielding helps us to weather life's storms more effectively.
Yeah, recognizing the strength can be found in flexibility and adapting to challenges with grace.
And speaking of the passage of time, Don't Be Sad offers this poignant reminder. Yesterday will never return.
It's true. Time waits for no one.
It doesn't. So the book is encouraging us to make the most of the present moment.
Absolutely, yeah. And this leads to another powerful statement from the book. This life does not deserve our grief.
Wow.
It's a bold statement, right? It's suggesting that while sadness and hardship are a part of life, we shouldn't allow them to consume us.
To rule us.
We shouldn't get so caught up in them that we forget about, the bigger picture.
And Don't Be Sad cautions against grieving over trivial matters.
Yeah.
Reminding us there are more important things to focus on.
So it's all about priorities again.
It is. This ties into a more philosophical reflection.
Ooh, I like philosophy.
Right. This philosophical reflection on the nature of this world.
What does it say?
Don't Be Sad reminds us that this world is a place of tests and trials.
Okay.
A temporary stop on our journey towards the hereafter.
So it's about keeping our priorities in check.
Yes.
And focusing on our relationship with Allah.
Absolutely.
More than anything else.
And on that note, Don't Be Sad encourages us to be proactive in striving to help others.
Yes.
Even in small ways.
Doesn't have to be something huge. It's that reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can make a big impact.
Absolutely.
And that serving others not only benefits them,
right,
but also brings joy and contentment to our own hearts.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful concept. And speaking of recognizing what we have, Don't Be Sad, encourages us to cultivate contentment, even when we feel, deprived or lacking in material possessions.
It's so easy to focus on what we don't have.
It's so easy, It takes a conscious effort.
It does.
To appreciate what we do have.
Yeah, absolutely. The book reminds us that true happiness isn't found in abundance, but in gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about trusting that Allah will provide for our needs and finding satisfaction in His blessings. And on that note, Don't Be Sad emphasizes the importance of recognizing that even hardship can be a blessing in disguise.
Yes. A tough concept to grasp sometimes, but so true.
Right. How can that be? How can hardship be a blessing?
Well, the book argues that challenges and setbacks can be opportunities for growth and learning.
So it's looking for that silver lining, recognizing that even difficult experiences can have a positive impact on our lives. And don't be sad also reminds us that each of us is unique.
We are.
We all have our own individual talents and strengths and weaknesses.
Absolutely.
It's about self-acceptance and empowerment, you know?
It is. It's about recognizing that our differences are what make us special and that each of us has a unique contribution to make to the world.
Embrace your individuality. Speaking of embracing the unexpected, don't be sad. Explores the idea that even what appears harmful can actually be a blessing.
It's true. Give me an example.
Yeah, give us an example.
Well, the book suggests that sometimes painful trials can actually lead us to a greater good that we wouldn't have otherwise achieved.
Right.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right.
You know, it's about trusting that even when things seem bad, there might be a hidden blessing or a lesson to be learned.
It's about having faith that things will ultimately work out for the best.
Exactly. And speaking of faith, don't be sad emphasizes its importance as the greatest remedy for sadness and despair.
It's so powerful. You know, faith can be such a source of strength and hope, even in those darkest moments.
The book highlights the importance of trusting in Allah and believing that He has a plan for us, even when we can't see it.
It's about surrender, you know? Surrendering to a power greater than ourselves and finding comfort in knowing that we're never truly alone.
And on that note, Don't Be Sad offers a powerful reminder to avoid placing our hopes in anything other than Allah.
Right, because it's easy to get caught up in worldly desires and ambitions.
It is.
But, you know, the book encourages us to keep our focus on the eternal reward.
Absolutely.
You know, and to recognize that true and lasting happiness can only be found in seeking Allah's pleasure.
This leads to another important point the book makes. Understanding that life is a journey, not a destination.
Oh, I love that.
Don't be sad. Encourages us to embrace all of it. The ups, the downs, the challenges, the triumphs.
All of it.
All of it as opportunities for growth and learning.
It's about finding contentment in the present moment and trusting that, you know, Allah has a plan for us, even when we can't see it.
Yeah, that's a message of patience, perseverance, and hope.
Absolutely. And speaking of navigating challenges, the book offers this really simple yet profound advice. As long as we have life's basic necessities, don't be sad.
I love that. Such a powerful reminder to focus on what we have rather than what we lack.
Yeah, gratitude, right. And the book encourages us to be grateful for things like, you know, good health, a roof over our heads, loving relationships.
Absolutely, recognizing that those material possessions are fleeting.
Yeah.
But true contentment comes from within.
And this leads to another beautiful concept from Don't Be Sad. Contentment repels sadness.
I love that. It's about recognizing that true happiness comes from within, not from external circumstances.
Yeah, it's about cultivating gratitude and acceptance.
Absolutely.
Rather than constantly striving for more.
Now, this next concept might seem a bit unusual at first.
Okay.
The book says that if we lose a limb, we still have others to compensate for it.
Okay, that sounds very literal.
It is, but it's also a powerful metaphor for resilience.
Okay, got it.
You know, the book argues that even when we experience loss or setbacks, we still have so much to be grateful for.
It's about focusing on our strengths and the resources we still have available to us.
Exactly. And speaking of exploring resources, Don't Be Sad encourages us to embrace the opportunity to travel and see the world.
Yes. There's something so enriching about travel, right?
Yeah.
It opens our minds to new cultures and perspectives.
The book highlights how travel can broaden our horizons and strengthen our connection with Allah.
For sure.
Through experiencing the diversity of His creation.
Absolutely. It's that reminder that the world is this vast and wondrous place.
It is.
You know, full of beauty and opportunities for growth.
Speaking of growth and wisdom, Don't Be Sad also encourages us to contemplate the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes. The Prophet's words offer timeless guidance, you know.
They do.
For navigating those challenges in life and finding true happiness.
The book highlights a particular saying.
Okay.
If Allah loves a people, He tests them. Whoever is pleased, for him there is pleasure, and whoever is angry, upon him there is wrath.
That's powerful. It reminds us that trials and tribulations can actually be opportunities to strengthen our faith.
Yeah.
And to draw closer to Allah.
Absolutely.
You know, rather than pushing us away. It's a beautiful reminder. And Don't Be Sad offers a reflection on those final moments of life.
Yeah.
You know, when our priorities become crystal clear.
It does. It shares a story about this renowned scholar.
Yeah.
Who, even on his deathbed, was more focused on seeking knowledge than his own discomfort.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that our pursuit of truth and understanding should continue until our very last breath.
What a powerful message. about living a life of purpose.
And speaking of facing life's challenges head on, Don't Be Sad offers this advice. Don't let calamity shake you.
It's so easy to feel overwhelmed and discouraged.
It is.
When those tough times come.
Yeah.
But Don't Be Sad reminds us to find that strength in our faith.
It does, and it highlights this beautiful verse from the Quran, and put your trust in the ever-living one who dies not.
Powerful. It's a reminder that even when, our world feels like it's falling apart, Allah is that one constant we can always rely on.
Don't Be Sad makes this really bold statement. If we embrace Islam, there is no reason to be sad.
Wow. It's like it's offering this, complete way of life.
Yeah, it is.
It highlights the peace, contentment, purpose that come from submitting to Allah's will.
It is a message of hope and liberation, reminding us that true happiness comes from aligning our lives with the divine will.
And speaking of aligning ourselves with what brings true happiness, Don't Be Sad offers this beautiful recipe for a fulfilling life.
Okay.
A meaningful life.
What are the ingredients?
Give us the recipe. What do we need?
Well, the book emphasizes a thankful heart, a tongue that remembers Allah, the keeping of secrets, and the avoidance of backbiting.
So it's cultivating those positive habits, right?
It is.
Focusing on our relationship with Allah, our treatment of others.
And here's another powerful reminder from Don't Be Sad. You will not die before your appointed time.
That's comforting, isn't it?
It is. It's a message of comfort and reassurance, reminding us that we're not in control of our destiny.
It encourages us to make the most of the time that we have been given, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's powerful. Speaking of appreciating the good in life, Don't Be Sad emphasizes the importance of good manners.
Oh, yes.
In all our interactions.
Good manners are so important, but often overlooked, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
The book highlights this beautiful hadith from the Prophet Muhammad. Shall I not inform you of the most beloved to me and the one seated closest to me on the day of resurrection? And verily, you, O Muhammad, are on an exalted standard of character.
Wow.
Powerful, right?
It is. It's a reminder that, good character is a reflection of our faith.
Absolutely. And finally, for those sleepless nights, that can accompany sadness and anxiety, Don't Be Sad offers this advice. Turn to Allah in prayer and remembrance.
Yes.
It's about finding that solace and connection in those quiet moments of wakefulness.
So beautiful. It's about transforming, potentially a negative experience into an opportunity for spiritual growth.
Exactly.
Wow. What a journey through. Don't be sad.
It has been.
We covered so much.
We did.
From, finding solace in the present moment to turning negativity into positivity.
Yes.
Embracing our individuality and, finding strength in our faith.
Mm.
What a powerful, powerful book. What really stood out to you?
For me, it was this recurring theme of choice.
Yes.
We can choose how we respond to challenges, we can choose to focus on the good, and we can choose to cultivate happiness. It's so empowering.
It is. It is. And I love how the book, blends this wisdom from Islamic teachings with these, universal truths that resonate with everyone, no matter what their background is.
It offers a lot to think about.
A lot to think about, a lot to reflect on. And if you're feeling inspired to delve deeper, we highly encourage you to check out Don't Be Sad for yourself.
Yeah.
Who knows what other gems you might find.
As you navigate those ups and downs of life, remember that core message.
Yes.
Don't be sad.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.